In 1845, 3 European warships opened fire on an African port. They burned the town. Then they retreated. They left 13 of their own men behind. 8 years later, the skulls were still standing on poles. The ruler who did that was a woman. Today she is remembered as one of the worst people in history. Tonight we ask one question. Is that true?
Tonight, Ranavalona, the first of Madagascar. Some of what they say about her was invented. The rest is worse.
Madagascar, an island off the east coast of Africa, 400 kilometers out to sea, and bigger than France. By the 1820s, most of it is ruled from the highlands in the middle, by a kingdom called Merina. Its king is Radamer I, and he has spent his reign letting Europe in. British officers train his soldiers. British missionaries build his schools, and write his language down in the Roman alphabet.
So the door is standing wide open.
Wide open. And this is the century when an open door is how a country gets taken. To understand what happens next, go back 30 years, to a village east of the capital. A girl called Ranavalona lives there. Her family are not royal. Her father hears about a plot to kill the king. He goes to the king and tells him. The king rewards him with the biggest thing he has. He betroths Ranavalona to his heir, Radamer. And he makes a promise. Any child of that marriage will take the throne after Radamer.
So she is not a nobody. She is carrying a king's promise.
She is. But the promise is not about her. It is about a child. The marriage lasts 24 years. She is not his favorite wife, and the child never comes.
24 years. Not his favorite, no children. I am trying very hard not to ask what those nights were like.
And when Radamer takes the throne, he has several of her relatives killed. In this kingdom, every relative is a rival.
So she spends 24 years beside the man who did that.
24 years. And then, in July 1828, Radamer dies. He is 36, and he has no children. Ranavalona is about 38. The records disagree on her birth year. We use the one most historians do. The promise never came true, so the throne is not hers. It belongs to Rakutube, the son of Radamer's eldest sister. Everyone at court knows this. But Ranavalola's supporters get to the palace first, and they take the guns. Then they hold the news back. While nobody knows the king is dead, nobody can crown Rakutube.
So they sat on a dead king until they were ready.
Then she announces 2 things. That Radamer had chosen her, and that the gods had told her so.
A king did once make her a promise. She is just leaving out what it was about.
She is. And nobody is going to argue, because she is already holding the building. Within days, the rightful heir is dead. Rakutube is speared. Royal blood may not be spilled. So they do not cut his mother. They shut her away without food.
A rule against spilling her blood used to starve her.
Remember that rule. It is also why this woman will die of old age, in her own bed. She did not take the palace alone. A young officer brought the army with him. His name is Andrea Mihazha. He is a young officer in the army Radamer built with British training, and the soldiers follow him. She makes him commander of the army. Then she makes him the first prime minister the kingdom has ever had. He is also her lover. At court, people stop pretending otherwise. He is treated as her husband.
So he was in and out of her bedroom, and the whole court just looked the other way.
11 months after the king dies, a son is born. He is raised as the king's child.
11 months. That is tight, for the king's child.
It is. And it was allowed to pass. This is the child she was promised 30 years ago, born too late, and to the wrong man. For 3 years he runs her government and her army, and sleeps in her rooms.
The government, the army, and her bedroom. He had all 3 keys.
Then 2 officials at court tell her Andriamihazha is plotting. She does nothing. So they tell her he has been with another woman, a princess. In 1831 she signs the order. Andriamihazha is executed, the man who brought her the army, and the father of her son.
Not for treason, in the end. For another woman. She could sign away an army, and she signed him away over that.
Remember that. Later, Europe will name a different father. She closes the island. In 1835 Christianity is banned for her own people. The following year the missionaries are expelled.
Why? They were building schools.
2 reasons. The first one is about what those missionaries were taking away from her. In this kingdom the ruler is not only the government. She is where the blessing comes from. Once a year she holds a festival called the Fandroana. On the eve, for one night, the ordinary rules are suspended.
Suspended. Right. Suspended how far, exactly?
The British missionaries who watched that night called it an orgy. Their word, for somebody else's festival. The same men gave her the word mad. In the morning a rooster's blood is put on her, she bathes in holy water, and she throws that water over her people.
So the blessing comes through her. Literally.
Through her. Now bring in a religion that says it does not. That is not a rival faith. That is a rival government. The second reason is simpler. Europe arrives as teachers and stays as owners, and the islands next door were already taken. But closing the door has a problem. Europe has cannon, and she does not. Then a Frenchman called Jean Laborde is wrecked on her coast, and he knows how to build things. She does not deport him. She employs him. At a place called Montesua he builds her cannon, muskets, gunpowder, glass, soap, brick and lightning rods.
She is making Europe's weapons without Europe.
Yes. And here is the price. It is built by forced labor owed to the crown, around 20,000 people. Not paid, not free to leave. For 10 years nobody tests it. Then, in the summer of 1845, somebody does. June 1845, at the port of Tamatave. The foreign traders there are losing their old privileges, her laws now apply to them too. They are frightened, so they send for help to the warships stationed at the islands next door. Those islands are Mauritius, which is British, and Réunion, which is French. Both were taken. Madagascar is the one still standing. 1 British and 2 French warships come. They fire on the town, they burn it, and they land men to take the fort.
2 navies against 1 island.
And they lose. The Malagasy hold the fort and drive them back down to the beach. The ships pull out. 13 of their men are killed taking the fort, and the ships leave without them. Their heads go up on poles along the shore, facing out to sea. A message for whoever comes next. She does not celebrate and stop. She builds more guns.
Tonight, Ranavalona the first of Madagascar. Some of what they say about her was invented. The rest is worse.
Her kingdom has an old way of settling accusations. It does not use evidence. It uses poison. The accused swallows poison from a tree seed, together with 3 small pieces of chicken skin. Bring all 3 pieces back up, and you are innocent. Keep them down, and you are guilty.
So your innocence depends on how well you vomit.
It does. Of everyone who took it, somewhere between a fifth and a half did not survive. This is older than her. In the 1820s it killed about 1,000 a year. Under her, 3,000. And then there is 1838. In that one year, The estimate for the central province is 100,000 dead. That province is where the kingdom rules from about 1 person in 5.
1 in 5. Not in a war. In a courtroom.
There is no invasion that year. No famine that explains it. It is administration. That is what her reign cost, at home. Now here is the strange part. Almost none of those are the numbers you will find written about her. The famous ones are bigger. That is the pattern. She kills fewer people than the stories say, and ruins far more. Now the charges. Almost everything written about her comes from 4 or 5 books, all by people she threw off the island. They say she halved the population. Nobody can find where that number came from, and the deaths we can count do not reach it. They say the poison killed 100,000 a year. It killed that many in 1 year, 1838. The average was 3,000.
3,000 a year is not a defense.
It is not. It is 3,000 a year, for 33 years. They say she massacred the Christians. The executions we can count come to 60 or 80, across the whole reign. But that number hides the rest. In 1849 alone, 18 were executed and 1,900 more were fined, jailed, or stripped. They say the Frenchman fathered her son. The boy was born in 1829. Laborde reached Madagascar in 1831.
2 years after the child. Nobody checked a date.
And they say she was mad. The book that fixed that word on her came out in 2005. It does not say where its quotations come from. It never shows she was ill, only that she was violent.
That is not the same thing.
No. A madwoman who beats you is bad luck. A competent tyrant who beats you is a defeat. So take out the invented numbers, and see what is left. A woman took a throne that belonged to her nephew, and had him speared. She had his mother starved, because the rule said her blood could not be spilled. She signed away the man who put her on that throne, over another woman. She built her arsenal with 20,000 people who were not asked. And she ran a courtroom that killed 3,000 of her own people a year.
None of that needed exaggerating. I keep thinking about the other version of her. She marries someone in that village, has 4 children, dies at 80, and nobody writes one word about her.
None of it did. And it also worked. She died in 1861, in her bed, still ruling. 33 years. France took Madagascar in 1895. That is 34 years after she was gone. Whatever else she was not mad. She was the reason it took them that long. And she is not the only woman who was handed a word like that by the people who wrote her down. She is not the only one. Other women took thrones they had no claim to, and held them the same way. A foreign-born wife removes her husband from the throne. He is dead 8 days later. She rules for 34 years. Her enemies could not beat her, so they wrote about her bedroom. Ranavalona was written about the same way. An empress dowager rules through her son, until he is old enough to want it back. She has him poisoned. Her story survives only in a history written by the dynasty that destroyed her. The same is true of Ranavaloona's record. For 30 years, a sultan's mother runs an empire through her sons and then her grandson. In the end, she is strangled inside her own palace, by the court she had been running. Like Ranavalona, she held a throne no rule gave her. A queen burns about 280 of her own people for their religion, in under 4 years. That much is true. The nickname was fixed afterwards, by the people who won the argument. Like Ranavalona, the killings were real, the name was not.
4 thrones, 4 bodies of evidence. And not one of them was written by the woman it describes.
If you have heard of her at all, It was probably from a list. She appears on rankings of history's most murderous people, always with the same unchecked numbers. Her nicknames are borrowed from other people. The female Caligula. The Bloody Mary of Madagascar.
Even her nickname is somebody else's name.
In Madagascar the argument is different, and still going. Tyrant, or the last ruler who kept the island. She was both. The lists cannot say both.
Next time on Femme Fatale Histories. New Orleans, and a free woman of color who became the most powerful person in the city, and did it in a language the law could not read. Marie Laveau.